Hi and welcome to another video of Scandinavia. I'm currently in Sweden. Yesterday I started my drive from the Dovrefjell National Park to northern Sweden, and since it's a quite long drive I decided to split it into 2 days. And yesterday I started driving in Norway. I kind of left Dovrefjell National Park, which is this typical, this fjell landscape close to the timberline with many small shrubs, birch trees, beautiful landscape. And then when I was more in the lowland regions around the Dovrefjell, the landscape looked kind of less interesting. It looked more managed, more like in Central Europe with green fields, more settlements. Still nice, but not so special anymore and not so wild. So I continued my drive. Then I went over a small border between Norway and Sweden, and since Norway is not in the European Union, I was not sure if there would be some kind of an actual stop, because I'm from Switzerland, which is also not in the European Union, and for most of the transitions or the borders to other countries around us, there is still a small border where there is some policeman just picking out some cars to ask if they have any goods to declare, or maybe even check if they have anything that they are transporting. But there was nobody around, but I still needed to stop in the middle of the street, and I will tell you why in just a second. So basically, when I arrived to the border of Sweden, I saw in the distance on the road, just like 50 meters behind the small border office that was completely closed, I saw something in the street, and I was not sure if this was like a metal sculpture of a moose that you drive slowly around the border or whatever. And when I got a bit closer, I realized that it was not a moose, it was a reindeer, and it was not a metal sculpture. It was in fact alive and slowly walking over the street. So I just pulled over. I took out my R5 with the 100-300 and tried to take some images. First I thought I could maybe include the houses, maybe even somehow manage to include the sign that this is the border from Sweden to Norway, or the custom building, but it didn't look so good. So I waited until the reindeer moved a bit more in a natural environment. There were some small gardens and houses, and afterwards they went more in these peatland, wetlands and forests, and I managed to get some shots of them. But I need to say that reindeer in Scandinavia are not really wild animals. They basically have an owner, and some of them are even tagged with like a GPS collar. They might move around, they roam around most of the year completely free, but they do have an owner. So it's not really wildlife photography, but I still wanted to take some pictures of them, because for me, at least when I was a little child, I don't know, reindeer and Scandinavia, they just went hand in hand. Reindeer somehow belonged to Scandinavia in my mind. Anyway, I took some pictures, I continued my drive, and then I stopped at a small lake because I wanted to take some pictures of waterfowl there, but it was not very successful for 2 reasons. First of all, there was only one bird around, one kind of grebe. I forgot the English name again, I will just write it below. And it was not very close. It was a bit far away on the other shoreline, and yes, I could have taken my 2x extender, but this doesn't help with the fact that then the grebe is very close to the background, and it doesn't give a nice smooth background anymore. You can see like the shoreline very clearly. So I was just waiting if it came closer, and unfortunately it wasn't. I could have approached from the other side, but due to the light that I had at this time, this was also not really an option, so no shots there. The second problem was actually the wind. It was getting very windy, which was the original reason why I left Dovrefjell a day earlier than planned, because the weather was starting to get worse, especially in Norway. And the border to Sweden, here it's still a bit better. I'm assuming that the wind is coming from the west, from the ocean. I don't know, but I assume here it will get worse at some point as well. And the wind is a problem because this means that you don't have a smooth water surface with some nice reflections anymore. But once you have the wave, you also lose those nice colors in the water. So not ideal. I decided to still camp in the area and try it again the next morning, what I actually did today. And unfortunately there was no bird on the water today at all, so I got no shots. I tried to take some pictures of some swallows that were flying around, but it was also not so easy because they had a specific flight pattern. I usually try to kind of analyze the flight pattern a bit, but they were always, once they came close to me, they were flying above me because they went to a house where they were breeding, I guess, to an older house. So I could only have taken pictures against the grayish or whitish sky, which doesn't look so great. So I decided to just continue my drive, going more towards northern Sweden, and I went over one of these kind of gravel roads, and at some point I saw more reindeer, so obviously I stopped. This time they seemed a bit more shy. It was a mother with 2 young ones, I guess. I'm not 100% sure, because reindeer are I think the only deer species in Europe where both the female and the male actually have antlers. So I'm not sure if it was the mother, but I guess so. And I managed to take some pictures of the young ones. It was very cute how it looked at me. And these were some individuals without, at least the young ones, without GPS collars, so this was quite nice. Then I continued through this landscape. It was quite heterogeneous, with some more open peatland landscapes, some forest, some beautiful lakes, but also some clear cuts in the forest, which really looked awful. And it's just a bit, it hurts a bit to think how much of an ecosystem has been destroyed there, because it's not only that the moose or squirrels or some birds don't have habitat to live there anymore, it's also countless other species, insects, fungi, plants, and there were really just a few trees, a few single trees standing there remaining. It looked like a bit a joke for that the forestry industry can say that they leave some trees. I don't know, this was just my impression. This was a bit sad to see. I then continued my drive and I hit a more like a normal concrete road again, and I saw some cranes at some point next to the road, and I tried to take some pictures there as well, but unfortunately they were very shy, and it also didn't look the very best because it was again in one of these rather green meadows, so a bit too green and clear cut for my taste, but I still wanted to try. What I usually do in these situations is I try to stop in a way that the cranes are on the right side of my car. Keep in mind I'm having the steering wheel on the left since I'm European. And then I exited the car on the left, and I can basically sneak around the car and then approach the cranes. This can sometimes help. Of course, if you're from the UK, from some countries in Africa, from Australia, of course the opposite applies. Yeah, that's my usual approach. This time it didn't work out so well, but I'm now continuing my drive and I'm really looking forward, and I'm quite excited what kind of animals and landscapes I will be able to capture in the next days. If you want to follow my journey, please subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and see you soon.